Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Just Open It, the YouTube series in which I open recently acquired toys. My name is Russ. Thank you very much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you're a fellow fan of pop culture, action figures, or toys, please subscribe to my channel, Karaoke Fanboy TV. I do try to post these videos as often as I can, sometimes weekly, sometimes monthly, but I'm counting down to my 100th episode of Just Open It. And to celebrate, I will be raffling off, if that's legal on YouTube, this Spider-Man figure that I acquired when it first came out years ago now. I didn't pick up any other figures in this line. I just kind of wanted a cool Spider-Man, but the package has obviously remained unopened and in relatively pristine condition. So if, like me, you're interested in simply having a cool animated series style Spider-Man that harkens back to that 90s cartoon show, or if you collect that line and you missed that initial figure, this would be a chance to acquire it. You simply need to subscribe to my channel or comment on any video between now and when I post that 100th episode. And I'll be honest, I don't know when that will be. Obviously, I'd like it to be soon, but by stretching these out a little bit, I give you a little bit more time too. So if you're watching this video after that 100th episode posts, obviously it's over. Somebody won that. They're the proud owner of it. And I will announce that on my 100th episode, the winner. So that's kind of an incentive to watch that. Another production note, if you watch my videos regularly, you'll notice a different background. A little behind the scenes. I have to move my couch every time I record one of these, which is why I don't record them as often as I'd like. It's kind of a whole rearrangement thing that happens here in my living room, because I thought a really cool backdrop would be my shelf of action figures, one of my shelves of action figures, which is now to my right. It's normally behind me. But I thought, you know what, I just want to get these figures opened. I just want to get these videos posted. So what you're seeing is the natural arrangement of my living room, which includes this wall of Happy Meal toys. There are all sorts of kids' meal promotional items here from McDonald's, Burger King, Jack in the Box, Whataburger, Taco Bell. So over here you see my kind of de facto studio, my drawing desk, the lamp, my childhood writing desk there, and then kind of this little teaser of my other food mascot collection. There's Sprout, the Jolly Green Giant's little buddy, some Pillsbury Doughboy stuff there. So I'm a fan of food mascots, obviously, both the fast food and the domestic varieties, in addition to the superhero action figures you see me open. And I make my own mini comics, and that's where they're drawn, at that drawing desk right there. So let's get to just opening some figures. I have some recently acquired McFarlane Toys Superpowers action figures. And you've heard me make this proclamation if you watch these videos, that I'm not interested in all of the variants. I don't need 20 different Superman or Batman on my shelves. I simply want the characters that weren't released in the original Superpowers series from the 80s. So I consider this kind of the Justice League International wave. These characters were pretty prominent in the 80s comic book series Justice League International by J.M. DeMatteis, Keith Giffen, Bart Sears did some drawing, Kevin McGuire did a lot of drawing in that legendary run. Some might call it the Bwah run, because they infused comedy in these superhero adventures. Perhaps the most effective use of both slapstick and punchline-oriented comedy in a comic book series. So if that kind of thing interests you, I encourage you to go to your local comic book shop and find collections or individual issues of Justice League International, Justice League Europe, even Justice League Antarctica, believe it or not. So all that said, these characters were prominent in that historic lineup, and I'm excited to have them, especially Guy Gardner as a fellow Ginger. This is my representation in comics right here, long story short. And Guy will be in the upcoming Superman movie, played by Nathan Fillion, I think. Some controversy over his haircut and outfit, but you can see at least the haircut is pretty comic accurate. So I'm going to open him first and then dive into these other two. Yes, I'm going to open all three on this video because I have so many action figures to open. And these are pretty simple, you know, no weapons, which is bizarre. You would think these Green Lantern figures would come with lanterns. They even have, yeah, I'm smelling it. they even have hands positioned to carry the lantern. So what's the plan here, McFarlane Toys? Are we going to do kind of an accessories pack for superpowers where lanterns will be included for the supplemental Green Lantern characters in addition to the John Stewart we got, which I believe came with a lantern? So it's odd that these other characters, these other Green Lantern characters don't. But right away, super cool. I think this is my first ever Guy Gardner action figure, believe it or not. And there he is. I mean, simple, sharp sculpting, paint application, nice. The logo is solid, not scraped in any way. So these characters have been on the pegs for a while. There aren't any big revelations here, but it's just cool to finally get to opening them. Hot-headed, unruly, and prone to breaking the rules, Guy Gardner isn't always the most likable hero, but he's proven time and again to be a worthy Green Lantern. So, is he likable? No. That means, does he have a little red-headed rage? Yes. But is he effective as a hero? Absolutely. That's Guy Gardner in a nutshell. So, let's move on to Metamorpho, who will also be appearing in the Superman movie, actually. I didn't realize that this is kind of a Superman movie themed episode as well, because I think there's been some talk of who Booster Gold will be. Not that he'll be appearing in that movie, but okay. Metamorpho has a wider, what do you call it in action figure terms? Buck or sculpt. His chest is a little wider. Just kind of, ooh, did you hear that? Popping these joints here. There is Metamorpho. This seems like an ideal figure for customizers because his head, is very plain, like it's just a bald white head. So paint application would be easy. You could sculpt onto it. You can probably file down some of the scales. Here he is the Element Man, right? So yes, each portion of his body represents like a different element. And in fact, let me read his package in case you're not familiar, but Metamorpho is able to transform his body into any combination of the chemical elements and can shape those elements into virtually any form he can conceive. So, a rather powerful character, actually, that is generally underused in the DC universe. So to see him included in the Superman movie, I hope that means that there's more in store for this character and his power set. But again, this would be a great figure for customizing. It's clearly a cool figure just by way of having a Superpowers Metamorpho. Very much a character of the 80s, so he's a natural for superpowers. Here we go. Perhaps my most anticipated figure of this line, and I'll explain why in a minute, but Booster Gold. I'm going to read his card first. A scoundrel from the future, intent on making a name for himself in the past, Booster Gold has nevertheless exhibited his share of heroism. So yeah, he's kind of a wannabe media darling that travels back to the 20th, 21st century. I think from the 23rd. It doesn't say where he's from exactly, but travels back in time, and I would assume in recent comics they may identify that he pinpointed this era of time for our reality television and our kind of idolization of all kinds of celebrity, from athlete, musician, politician. So this would be a prime time for him to come back. I'm immediately feeling that his joints aren't nearly as stiff as the other two guys. And I don't know if that's, yeah, his legs are like already completely broken in. You heard that snap with Metamorpho. This is different. That doesn't mean I feel like they're going to fall off or anything. It's just an interesting variable there. And I wonder if that has to do with the kind of plastic that's used, the paint application. Again, Metamorpho is very much his own mold. Well, all three of these figures actually are their own individual sculpts. I don't think there'd be any reuse of parts here whatsoever, because On Booster's torso, you have this extended collar. The gauntlets are very specifically sculpted. The legs even have unique kind of boot trim. You'd normally see that point in the front like with a Superman boot, but here they're on the side, probably a fashion trend of the future. Metamorpho clearly all entirely original parts. Arguably this arm is reusable, but this arm has the texture of his elemental powers. So this arm would be the only one, and maybe this leg. So this arm and this leg may be reusable for other characters that have this kind of build. But Guy, again, is almost completely original. I would, if you want to get really nitty gritty, this portion of his leg might be reusable. But once you get to the boot, those are custom. That's custom to him. Obviously, the vest, indicative of Guy Gardner, is completely original to him. So anyway, just something really remarkable considering the price point of these figures, and I guess a justification why they might not include accessories. You are getting a lot on the figure itself if you pay attention to those kind of things. So, here we have a significant portion of the Justice League International, which is super cool. Now, to add, a friend of theirs that I opened a couple months ago now, we have, and let me see if I remember how to do this, actually. How to open the hatch. Oh, okay, there are the wings. So, here's the Blue Beetle's ship, and inside is the Blue Beetle himself. Now, in the comics, Blue Beetle and Booster Gold are best buddies. They're often called Blue and Gold, the Blue and Gold team, whatever variable of that configuration you want to say, but they are good friends in the comics, perhaps best friends. So to have them side by side as superpowers is really cool. And what I was looking forward to doing most is putting Booster in the passenger seat. Silly, I know, but I'll tell you what, I read those Justice League International comics in college when a comic book store in Placentia, California was closing, and they had a big inventory. And I was able to acquire almost, if not all of those issues for like 10 cents a piece. So I got the entire Justice League International run for 10 cents a piece, each issue. And that's issue 1 through, I think it's like 60, 65 or something before the creative teams change. I think Dan Jurgens takes over. That's a cool run too. It's kind of dated now, not quite as transcendent as what DeMatteis and Giffen did. And I'm saying DeMatteis, I think it's DeMatteis. I've said DeMatteis a lot in the past. He's done a lot of interviews where he clarifies, and I feel like DeMatteis is what I've tried to say over and over again to get it right. But I hope it's not the other way around. Anyway, so I acquired all of those issues, read them in a matter of a weekend, I think, because I was so blown away by how incredibly well they were written, how awesomely they were drawn. You could say that they're dated too, that they're certainly of a time, kind of a Reagan era vibe going on. You have Maxwell Lord, who's depicted in the last Wonder Woman movie as kind of a Donald Trump analog. And that might have been the case back in the late 80s as well, except Trump kind of played a different role in pop culture. He wasn't a political figure yet. He was more of this kind of bizarre mogul that you could base billionaire characters on, like John Byrne's Lex Luthor in the Superman Man of Steel reboot, or Maxwell Lord, each showing a different side of Trump's personality at that time, and both kind of endearing when you put them in comics in that way. And that's the only context in which I'm saying that right now. So obviously, because those characters keep coming back, the business mogul version of Lex Luthor and Maxwell Lord. So whether or not they were directly inspired by Trump, the fact that you could create that parallel, that kind of cultural linchpin in the 80s, make those comics very cool, very timeless, and timely, and dated to that era. So that's what good comics do, in my opinion. They tell stories of their time, transcending that time. So you could look back at them as both kind of a time capsule, a little slice of entertainment and insight to how things repeat from time to time. I'm rambling now. But all I really wanted to do here was put these two good buddies in this vehicle so they could cruise around together. Look at that. Just going off for a night on the town in the bug ship. That is super cool. And then you have, of course, their friends that can fly alongside. And the Justice League International, by way of superpowers, McFarlane Toys superpowers, is nearly complete. We would need Fire and Ice to get those core characters in, and then some others too. But with Fire and Ice, I would consider that pretty close to that roster that's most beloved and characteristic of that run. Other characters certainly came in and out of the roster, Captain Atom and so on. But when I think of Justice League International, I think of Booster Gold, Blue Beetle, Fire and Ice, Guy Gardner. Those four are kind of core to that run. Anyway, thanks so much for watching this video. I'm talking a lot about comics because I do make my own Amazing Arizona Comics as a mini comic based right here in Arizona, where I'm from, featuring original superheroes, and their adventures are inspired by local news and culture. So if that kind of thing interests you, you could follow me on Instagram at AmazingAZComics. The link will be in the description of this video below. And either way, tune in next time when I grab another unopened toy from the large stack, the growing stack here in my living room, and I say, you know what? Just open it. I'll catch you next time.